and this is the Nonprofit Corner Podcast with your host, Dr. Victoria Boyd. And welcome to the Nonprofit Corner Podcast with your host, Dr. Victoria Boyd. And as usual, we have a phenomenal guest, I should say, two guests with us today. And they're going to really talk about something that is needed in the nonprofit sector, but is not really thought about a lot. And that's accountability and just time management and all that other good stuff that we really need to think about in order so that our organizations can thrive versus just surviving. So I want to say thank you to XayeFaith. I got it right, I hope, and Devann. How you doing? And they're coming all the way from London. I know I always talk about, we're international. I've had people that were in Mexico and Canada. So now we're really going around the globe having guests on. So welcome to the show. And before we get started, I want either one of you or both of you actually to introduce yourself and just give us a little bit of background as to how you got to be where you are today in the space that you are, so that our listeners can get to know you.
Hi, Dr. Victoria. So great to be here. Hello, nonprofit owners, business owners. We are XayeFaith and Devann, and what we are accountability consultants, and so we support organizational executives who are feeling really frustrated. We help them have more time, earn more money, and create better energy with themselves so that they can create a life of total freedom.
Okay, so what is your background? How did you get into this space?
Yes.
Yeah, so Zaye, so has a disclaimer. So Zaye is actually not from London. I'm not from London, but she's from South Carolina.
Okay.
And we met within the entrepreneurial world, to make it short. and then we came together, and over the years of like receiving coaching and just engaging in personal development, there's literally that one key factor that kept popping up was what are entrepreneurs missing? What's that secret sauce? And every time we went through an experience, whether it's interfacing with our clients or interfacing with customers, interfacing with just fellow entrepreneurs, we found that accountability was that missing thing. And often people don't really understand what accountability is. So for me, Zaye was in the Air Force prior to going into entrepreneurship, and I was a student coming to entrepreneurship. So we had no idea, and we had no idea coming into entrepreneurship what we about to do with our lives right now, and that's what happens for most new business owners, most new entrepreneurs. They're coming in head first, and then they're not knowing what is going on, and it's because they haven't really established decisions, actions, and outcomes that they actually want. Because nothing will become impactful or worthwhile unless you have a vision. And Absolutely. Some people are even clinging to a vision as well. And that's what nonprofits, for example, like at the core of it, they are for the public, they're for the communities, and they're for fulfilling their mission.
Yes.
And if there's things in the way of fulfilling that mission, that gets to be addressed, which it often isn't.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit on two key points that I want to actually bring up a little bit more. You talked about leadership, because in the nonprofit sector, leaders often feel like they're in a silo, that they're all alone in this journey, that the weight of the world, this mission is on their shoulders, and especially founders. I work a lot with founders, those that are just starting out, just have that vision and want to bring it to life. Yeah. And they come with all of this energy. And then when I start explaining, well, you need to do your program plan, and then you need to get your board, and then you need to get, and I can see them doing what I call the deer in the headlights stare at me, like, oh my God. And so it's about accountability, but also creating a plan, a management plan. You can't do anything. And one of the words you used in what you were doing there was prioritize.
Yes.
That's key to them, because in nonprofits, it goes through a growth period where initially they're immature babies as an organization. So what's the priority at that point? And then as they get systems and management and all of that put together, what's the priority at that point? But layered on top of all of that, and you said it, there's leadership. You still have to be that leader in order to keep the organization, to keep the mission active, so that you can achieve it, so you can put all these things together. And so you got these balls bouncing in the air that you're trying to juggle. and
yeah, it's so true. And like what I really noticed is that to be even effective in anything you're doing, or even as a nonprofit, it's like it actually requires everyone. You're not solopreneur in a nonprofit. Like
yeah,
everyone's involved. The team members, the employees, the volunteers. Everyone has a role, and that role is put together, structured in a way to fulfill the mission, or it gets to be structured. Sometimes not structured. So that's where it kind of wanes. And oftentimes I realized that, because even when I was a few years ago, I actually led a nonprofit energy. It was called an energy club. So I went to schools, and I would teach like kids. We call it year 2 in London, but it was like second grade. So second graders. So showing them the importance of energy, but mixing it with like the benefits around food and stuff like that.
yes.
And what I realized is that boosting like the kids' morale, or just boosting their morale, their motivation, or finding out what motivates them as well. Find out what actually like is important to them. Finding out what they actually want to do. That's gonna help them
know your audience. You know, that's
exactly.
the bottom line for marketing. You got to know your audience, and that's totally key. Absolutely. So as you're working with different, because I like the word accountability too. In fact, when I bring on clients, I often tell them, I'm your accountability partner. And so when I tell you to do something, it's sort of me hinting that it's time that you need to do this, like right now. and
I like that light nudge. The light nudge.
Just a little push, just a little a little push. But because I know the order and process and what first step, second step, third step, and they're just sort of grabbing out in the space, pulling back. Oh, I started working on so and so. I'm like, it's not time for that. So you got to have this first before you can get this. So just holding people accountable, and that's a part of what you do. Is I went on your website, and then I also went on your Facebook page. I'm always trying to absorb and find out more about you. And you do. Okay, I'll ask the question. Do you serve as an accountability coach, or you show them how to be accountable?
Both. We do both. Yeah.
Okay, explain a little bit how you are the accountability coach.
Yeah. So, and I do want to say, I don't really consider us as coaches. We consider ourselves as consultants, because
I agree with you, because I'm a consultant. I'm not a coach either. I'm a consultant.
You get it. You get it.
I totally get it. I don't want to be your coach. I am a consultant that has the knowledge and the expertise, and I'm just telling you what to do. I'm not here to coach you.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. So, just kind of what we've already spoken about, and I want to take it back just a little bit before we became accountability consultants. I was listening to a Mel Robbins podcast interview, and she was talking about, I don't remember exactly word from word what she said, but pretty much she was just saying, as kids, we're a parent, right? And then, when we become adults, we get to parent ourselves, and so that's where, being an entrepreneur or starting a nonprofit, again, we know like there's all this stuff and only we can do it, and we don't know the order. And so a part of the cultivation of becoming accountability consultants was like, we had to do it for ourselves, like learning to parent ourselves, learning to lead ourselves, learning to manage ourselves. And again, just being, networking and being around other entrepreneurs, we're like, oh, this could really support our fellow entrepreneurs, so they can thrive and grow and share what they're doing with the world. And so as far as, how we support people, there's two parts. We have our method that we show people our process so they can build a habit to be more disciplined and accountable for themselves, so they could eventually not, so we're not enabling them, we're supporting them, right? Yes. So we have our method that we support them with, but for the most part, what really makes what we do different is that when our clients work with us, because again, we work with, we've done group as well. We work with organizational executives, so nonprofits, we work with nonprofits as well. What makes us different is that during our session, every day you will walk away with something complete. You're going to get things done. So we're not, like a coaching program where you come and you learn stuff and you just figure it out and stumble to your result. With us, we help you. We help you create a profit plan. That's what we call it. We call it a profit plan because it's your personalized blueprint to manage yourself, to have a clear schedule, so you know what you're doing, you're feeling better throughout the process. And we, every session you come with us, and at the end of that session, something's going to be done, something's going to be complete. You're not going to be working on something. Overall, I know how nonprofits, they're project based, but there's going to be something in that project that you are making progress towards.
Absolutely.
Every single day.
Yes. In fact, literally an hour ago, I'm putting together the final touches on training. I do a lot of training. And so I really get about walking away. Students will be able to, what are the takeaways that you're going to get from this? And so I always have a workbook. Here's the model. Here's how you fill it in. And what I'm working on is I don't know if you've heard of it, but the logic model program planning format or mapping thing where it creates the program and evaluation. Whereas what I found, and just to take a little sidebar here, because it really touches on what you just said, I found that many nonprofit founders, when they're just thinking about it, what they do is they run to the small business development centers. Every community has one, and they go in there and they say, I want to start a nonprofit. What do I do? And generally they say, write a business plan. And that's not where they should start, because they don't have a clue yet about that. But they do know what program, how they want to serve the community. So I'm on my little soapbox again. You start with the program even before you file your paperwork, because like you said, nonprofits, the heart of nonprofits is their programs or their projects. That's the heart of what they do. That is what aligns with their mission. And so their programs have to be mapped out, first of all, so that entrepreneur-minded, purpose-driven founder understands and is able to clearly articulate what they're trying to do in terms of the impact they're trying to have in the world. Because, as you said, make more money. Yes, nonprofits have to make money. Even though it's called nonprofits, it's really what is called a for-purpose business. They need revenue streams and all of those other things. The term nonprofit, technically, all it is a tax code here in the US, 501c3. It's a tax code. But they're a for-purpose business, and thinking about profits and monetizing those programs / what they do, their mission, should be important to them. And so I totally get what you say, walk away with something. And I hate to say it, in the industry, so often you go on those webinars and they talk about themselves for the first 30 minutes, and then they give you about 3 minutes of content that really it's fluff. It's So I love that you are saying that they actually walk away with something done, to do, or in hand when they finish a session or the project you have with them.
Yeah.
Well, it's their project. We're just holding them accountable. It's kind of like going to the gym, hiring a trainer versus just doing a random gym membership by yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's whatever their project is, but
and that's how, I mean, that's why as a consultant, every nonprofit is different, every mission is different, so everything has to have what is called that generic template, but then you as the consultant guide them as to how to fill it in, how what works in their situation. And that's why, just like you said, you can have the consultant sessions. I do one-on-ones too, because sometimes you just need to talk to them alone, just, to get and show them what their perspective and how their message and how their nonprofit could go in terms of systems, prioritization, management, and all of that, because they're all different. Absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and also another thing as well in terms of personalization, we're like within nonprofits, it's really important that, I mean, systems are like effective, responsive, beneficial. But at the core of it, what gets lost is that the individual person, you might be externally motivated by the vision and the mission, but internally you still need to understand what's the benefit for yourself.
Yeah, intentional leadership. Yep.
Intentional leadership. Because it's that intention, it's that action steps that creates that organizational culture.
Yeah, I often say create a leadership culture within the organization where everybody feels empowered to not only have their own personal accountability, but accountability for the organization and accountability for, I call it that personal life. You have your business life, then you have your personal life, and they all have to come together. It's like that Venn diagram where all the circles overlap. In the middle, it's still you. And if it's not balanced across all those spectrums, it gets off balance. You start surviving versus thriving. Okay, we're going to take a real quick break right here. This is the Nonprofit Corner podcast with your host, Dr. Victoria Boyd. We're going to be right back in 1 second. Programs are the heartbeat of nonprofit organizations, and it's important that you understand how to develop them. Get live team training or on-demand virtual training with our Logic Model Program Planning Training. Find everything you need at lmpp.now.site. And welcome back to the Nonprofit Corner podcast, again with your host, Dr. Victoria Boyd, and my special guests, Devann and XayeFaith. They have been dropping golden nuggets. I hope you have been listening about empowering yourself with accountability. I'm going to get directly to one of their statements that they made, and it's get unstuck by getting focused. Many nonprofit leaders, especially when they're new, they come to me and say, I'm lost. I'm just, I don't know. What do I do? I just can't seem to focus on that. So what does get unstuck by getting focused mean to you?
So, we're human and a lot of times, there's so many things. We feel overwhelmed, we feel stressed, we feel anxious because everything's in our mind, right? Everything's, so whenever you just stop and take a moment and just write everything that's in your mind, that's why I know it seems like it's relatively new, but everybody's talking about their routines and having a miracle morning. It's super important so we can hit that reset, because, and I know even for me, if I don't have my planner, if I don't, brain dump, think dump, yeah. I love to plan and organize. So much fun. I love it. But when we're just literally operating and living our lives from our mind, and we're feeling stressed, we're feeling frustrated, we're feeling overwhelmed, it's because we just need to take a pause. Our body's telling us, hey, pause, like help me organize all this stuff. And we feel stuck and we're going in cycles because we are just operating from imagination. So in order to get unstuck, we have part of our process. We have a method that we teach people in order to go from in order to prioritize to thrive. Is we help them think dump. So they just take a moment, everything that's on your mind. And you kind of mentioned it earlier, where we're whole beings, and so our business is connected to our life, which is connected to ourselves, which is connected to our partners, which is connected to errands, I got the taxes, I got this, and we just feel like sometimes. So we're really just taking a moment, and we have a process of that where we stop. You're going to brain dump, you're going to think dump everything that's in your mind, even if it's random, because sometimes we are letting tasks or ideas that aren't in alignment with us anymore. Maybe that was a version of ourselves, and we're holding ourselves to that, but it's not where we're going. But just putting it on paper, seeing it like, oh, this was an idea, but I don't even want to do that anymore. Let me just mark it off. And that literally opens up space inside your body, inside your mind, inside your space. So it's little exercises like that we do to help.
That is so important what you just said, because with nonprofits, and we've said it many times today, there's a mission. That mission should be your compass. And many times I see nonprofits doing what I call chasing the money, where an organization, a grantor, a funder will say, oh, we have this amount of money if you service this group. And I see them over there, oh, I want to apply for that grant. I said, but that's not your program. That's not what you do. And that whole process of writing down and organizing your thoughts, sometimes I'm guilty. I have what I call those night voices.
We're human.
that you're trying to go to sleep, but all of that stuff that you first thought you should have done that day, or, oh my God, then I need to do it tomorrow. Oh my God, but what if it happens if I don't do it? Just won't let your brain go. And I too love writing things down, even if it's just a spur of the moment idea that, no, I don't need to implement it right now, but it's a good idea. If I write it down, I'll be able to revisit it and say, this is the time, the place, and the opportunity for this idea now. Fortunately, nonprofits, because they do have a mission, they do have a focus. And if they practice, and I'm going to use your term, accountability, of ensuring that their organization and all of its systems and things and processes that it creates and does for the community is aligned with that mission, they've just created their own focus and accountability. I'm just saying.
She's just saying it.
I'm just saying. And many don't see how, thinking about it, it sounds like a real simple process.
It's so simple. It's so simple. And it's really just, again, getting in the habit. It takes a moment to get unstuck. We think like, oh, well, I have to have everything finished and accomplishment, but literally by doing that think dump, by literally anything that's in your mind, that's on you, that's frustrating you, that's making you anxious, putting it on paper and just look at it. And then we have, and I'm saying process, but literally you can do this in like 5 minutes, especially after you get in a habit of doing it. But, of course, when we first start working with people, it take them a little bit longer because, things we get to work through energetically and emotionally. But, just put it on paper, look at it and move it, and then just go and take action on at least one thing. And by completing that one thing, you feel like you are progressing and you're moving forward. Because that's from our human compass, like we just care about contribution and moving and progress. Moving forward.
Yeah. And that's a good segue into your next topic, or create clarity with time management, because technically writing things down, you're managing a portion of your time. It's doing a brain dump. You're designating, whether it's in the morning or right before you go to sleep or whatever, wherever you have decided this is the time to do it. Because I don't know if you agree, but I feel you need to put it on your schedule that I'm going to do it every day at 6 a.m. or whatever. I'm a morning person. I know 6 might sound ridiculous to some people, but I'm a morning person. But that's when I think my clearest. And so that would be the time I would implement that strategy. So creating clarity with time management, how does that fold into the whole accountability spectrum?
Yeah, so whenever you're creating clarity, ask yourself this: when is the best time that you could slow down to speed up? When is the best time for you could slow down so you can speed up? Because again, you have world-class athletes. The referee, the whistleblower, he doesn't say go set ready. He doesn't say go set ready. Tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know.
No. Hey, I have a degree in health and physical education too. My daughter ran track. I know about the go set bang.
Likewise. and so we get it wrong because, and it's funny because when we could just look at the examples in the world. There are examples, like it's not like there's no template. There's no template that you can take a page from the book and use it within your own life and implement into your own life. So when you're creating clarity, what you get to do is you get to manage those behaviors, those patterns that just come from just existing in your daily life. And oftentimes, like without accountability, your mental energy, your physical energy, it's gonna wane. And without you knowing, it's gonna affect everyone around you.
Absolutely. And it's amazing. And once again, a simple action of using a calendar, you know, every day on like Monday, I have designated as my writing day. That's when I write content for the clients or myself or blogs or whatever. Friday is maybe I work and maybe I don't. It's what's important. What, do I need to prioritize something? But generally, Friday is my reset, rejuvenate day, refresh. This is my 3 R's. I need to reset, rejuvenate, rethink all of the R's that you can put in there.
Yeah, and so it's great to have that's why it's great to have a template. It's great to have a think list, a think dump list, a brain dump list, so that now that it's in front of you, now it's actually, you created that. That's the template for creating clarity. Why? Because now you know what to do, and you can make the choice, not based on circumstances. You can make the choice on what matters most right now.
Yes.
What can I do now? What can I do later? And what can someone else do?
Oh, I love delegating. Absolutely.
Delegating your tasks.
And leaders have such a problem delegating. And a lot of the, I'll just, some leaders, but some of it is their ego. They don't think anybody else can do it as well. Oh. Are we covering our face?
I mean,
the walk of shame. No, but
you gotta own it.
But
once
that's a human thing, and I always try to tell people to reframe it. Yes, you have the knowledge, but until you show someone else and delegate it to someone else, you're just keeping the knowledge to yourself. And once you share it, you're now teaching someone else and sharing that role. Even if you don't give it away immediately, you know that someone does have some of the knowledge that you have, and it's good to share. I always say knowledge is power, but knowledge also can be profitable if you know how to use it. So
yes. And I do want to add, like, through our method, we support our clients to actually create a profit plan. So it's their personalized blueprint. And again, so they can have the habit to be more accountable to themselves, so they can lead themselves and be more productive, efficient, and profitable in their life and organization.
the old saying is, you've got to take care of yourself first before you can take care of someone else. That the airline thing, put on your own air mask, oxygen mask before you help someone else. All of this is true in the world of business, nonprofits, entrepreneurship, life, that you have to do that self-care, that brain dump, to get all that stuff out your brain so that you can be focused and think clearly with clarity. But also, if you prioritize and create that you are your own personal accountability person, you're checking off a lot of boxes of things you worry about. And
Mhm.
if you're always worried, how are you going to support somebody else if you're always worried?
You know, I'm inspired. Worry less. Oh, I feel like I can come up with a tagline based on worry less by thinking more. I don't know, but I like
Brain
worry.
dump and worry less, whatever. No, I'm just
Yes, yes.
no, absolutely. Okay, so we're getting close to wrapping up here. I always like to ask, are there hidden tips or some final strategies that someone could implement today just to say that, wow, on that podcast, I'm able to. Final tip?
Yeah, so say whoever, if you're watching, say this to yourself. Because I'm watching this podcast, because I'm listening to this podcast, I am able to identify the core tasks and priorities that are in my life and my business.
Okay. Absolutely.
So whatever that looks like for you, you get to start with that. And we are actually providing a Prioritize and Thrive worksheet, which is gonna go through the think number list. It's gonna go through action steps, and it's gonna go through the improving part, because one thing to mention is when it comes to accountability, particularly in nonprofit organizations, is reviewing and giving feedback.
Absolutely. Evaluation, assessment,
Exactly.
either formative or summative. That's the only way you're going to have a continuous improvement personally and in the organization. So if people wanted to reach out to you, if they have questions, how can they reach you?
Definitely. If you go ahead and get access to that worksheet.
Okay. And I'm going to
know,
have that link and everything when the podcast comes out.
Yes. And always feel free. You can always email us at hello@totalfreedomevents.com. That's
Okay.
hello@totalfreedomevents.com. And, we'll be more than happy to support you. And I just want to just add really quickly, you're always in the right place. So just trust yourself. And the most simple thing that you can do today, if you're feeling overwhelmed or you're feeling stressed, or you just feel like, you know what, I want to just get to this next level, write all your thoughts down and do one thing. And it can be one simple thing, but just do one thing, and everything will just unfold and you'll get clarity. And definitely complete that worksheet. It's very simple, and it's going to walk you through pretty much everything we talked about today, but it'll help you get to that next step.
Absolutely. I'll make sure I have the link and how they can access that. And I'm going to close with a saying that you've probably heard: the best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. One bite at a time. Thank you so much for coming on the Nonprofit Corner podcast. It has been my pleasure. And this is your host, Dr. Victoria Boyd of the Nonprofit Corner podcast. And we will see you next time.